Hello, Booknerds. Welcome to the Booknerds podcast. It's an honor today for us because growing up in the 90s, all of us, in fact, have at some point or the other, read an ACK, that is Amar Chitra Katha, or perhaps Tinkle or something else from the amazing, house of Amar Chitra Katha. First of all, welcome to the podcast, Preeti. Thank you so much. Preeti is the president and CEO of Amar Chitra Katha Private Limited. Welcome to the podcast, first of all.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Very, very happy to be here.
Yeah. We are really honored to have you because it's always great to, of course, we read a bunch of, comic books from you guys, but it's always great to go behind the scenes and know what goes into, making these amazing comic books. Of course, today is World Children's Day, and, it's always special to kind of talk about comic books or children books on this day. So, for those who don't know about Preeti is of course the president CEO of ACK. But she has done a lot more as well. Many of you won't be aware. She's also the founder of Fun OK Please Publishing, that creates contemporary Indian content for children. Um, Throughout her 26 years long career, that's a long time. She has been a retailer, publisher, editor, author, and entrepreneur. So Preeti hasn't left anything. I mean, she has delved into all those, fascinating facets. Also, a seasoned bibliophile who believes that, in between the pages, you find all the solutions to any problem on this earth, which is very interesting for us, especially at Booknerds. She also practices Buddhism and lives in Mumbai. Of course, she lives in Mumbai with her 12-year-old son, who is a fantasy fiction enthusiast, and his name is Neil. That's great. The you are a bibliophile. Your son is a fantasy fiction enthusiast. Must be something great going on at home. But first of all, Preeti, it's World Children's Day, and we all, the cliches are always there. Children should read more, and their parents should encourage them. But what is that right balance right now between, say, screens and books, and of course, do the balancing act well for both? I mean, the parents and children right now, which is a big question.
Yeah. So I think it is a very good question because, when you were talking of growing up in the 80s and 90s, we didn't have that much choice, right? So reading was just that pleasure that we got. We were not overstimulated and bombarded with so much of stimulation, which today's kids
Yeah,
do have, right?
yeah,
So I think the balance comes out of not putting pressure in life on anything, right? The minute we start getting too fastidious about things, that's when things get, I mean, nobody wants to be, no child in the world, in fact no adult either, likes being lectured
yeah.
to or likes being
True.
told what to do, right? Nobody likes that. So
Yeah,
uh, and the home is supposed to be that space which is an emotionally safe space and a fun space, and it's your soothing space. It's home, so you don't want it to be a space where there is so much pressure and so many guidelines about how one should be living their life.
yeah,
I think the short answer to this, and somebody asked me the other day also on a parent seminar, that how should I encourage my child to read more, and my kid is not reading, and how do I create the reading habit? And my
yeah.
one line answer was, do you read? Do you have a
True,
reading habit? you
true,
know
true.
so kids learn by watching
Yeah,
watching our actions, not just listening to our words.
yeah,
So if you as a parent are going to be stuck on your mobile phone the whole time,
yeah,
glued to your screen, how do you expect the child to then be, only reading and not looking at any screens?
yeah,
So is there balance in your own life as a
yeah,
parent, as an
yeah,
adult? If there's balance
yeah.
in your life, there'll be balance in your child's life as well. It's as simple as that.
It's so simple, right? And it is so tough to execute because we can't give up on our mobile phones for some reason.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is so tough. Let's talk about Amar Chitra Katha and its evolution, especially because
Okay.
over the years, of course, we all know the great books that have come out, the great comic books. Has the kind of philosophy changed? Is there any evolution that you look at, especially in the past, say 5 to 10 years? Can you tell us more about that?
How many minutes do you have for this question? Because I can talk for one. I can talk for 1 hour about this topic alone.
I know.
It's yeah.
It could be an entire thesis, but perhaps a shorter
Yes.
version would do.
I will try my best. Humor me, indulge me with. I'll try to keep it as short as possible.
Of
So,
course, of course.
1967 is when ACK was founded.
Yeah,
Our founder, Mr. Anand Pai, was a
yes,
legendary, iconic person in the
yeah,
Indian comic books industry. I think he was known as Uncle Pai.
yes,
He started in 1967 because he felt that he watched a quiz show
yeah,
where the kids on the quiz show could answer questions about Greek mythology and couldn't answer a question about
yeah,
who was the mother of Lord Ram, right? So
yeah,
he was
yeah,
very disturbed by that, and he said,
yeah,
"Children, our Indian children need to know about their own
yeah,
roots." So that's how the idea of Amar Chitra Katha was born. 1967 is when they started. 1980 is when he started Tinkle. Tinkle
yeah,
magazine just completed
yeah,
41 years, in fact, on Children's
yeah,
Day on 14
right,
November.
yes,
And over the course of all these years, 54, 55 years now,
yeah,
we have been trying to, few things have remained unchanged.
yeah,
We are still the country's, the nation's favorite storyteller, is what we like to
yeah,
call
right,
ourselves. We are still trying to provide that very crucial link to the past. The roots to your roots is what ACK is,
right,
and every person needs that crucial link,
right,
that sense of grounding, to where you're coming from. So
right,
that's what ACK stood for. That's what Tinkle was connecting with Tinkle. ACK is all about the past, stories of mythology, history,
yeah,
retelling.
yeah,
Tinkle is more fiction. Tinkle is more contemporary, more fun in that sense.
right,
And both these together provide that holistic and wholesome, safe entertainment and education to Indian
right,
children.
yeah,
How have we evolved? Of course, the format itself has evolved. So where we were
yeah,
selling only printed books all these years, today we are a
yeah,
fully digital company. So
right,
we have an ACK app, we have a Tinkle
yeah,
app, we have
yeah,
close to 2 million users on those apps. With 30,
right.
yes, there you go. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I mean,
30,
I have both the apps here, and
yeah,
I must congratulate you because I'm like I used to be a techie at least, and here is the Tinkle app. I used to be a techie. I was going through the apps, of course, for the content, but I was just looking at it from an experience point of view, and you guys have done a great job because not many apps have got that simplicity, of
yes,
reading.
yes.
So it was
So
pretty simple.
I mean, we are always very clear. We are a reading app.
Yeah,
Our focus is on reading. It's always
yeah,
been on reading. We
yeah,
try not to clutter the space with other things.
yeah.
And 30% of our users are actually from abroad. They're not from India.
Right.
So that's we're connecting with Indian children. So in
Wow.
that sense, we are a digital
Yeah.
first, and we are a global company. We
Right.
are connecting with children of parents of Indian origin across the globe through our apps.
Yeah. Right.
While in during Uncle Pai's time, he used to create and publish a new Amar Chitra Katha issue every month, right?
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
32 pages roughly every month. So about 400 pages a year were being created.
Yeah.
Today on on Amar Chitra Katha alone, we are doing more than 1,000 pages a year of new
Right.
content.
Right. Yeah.
On Tinkle, we are doing about 800 pages a month. So it's
Wow.
totally insane. A new Tinkle issue drops on the app every week. So
Wow.
every week there's fresh content coming out. So
Yes. Yeah.
it really is a combination of taking this great, profound body of work Uncle Pai left us with.
Yeah.
We cherish that. We
Yeah.
are we're deeply, deeply grateful, and
Yeah.
we are very cognizant of what a treasure he has given us, right? So we
Right.
want
Right.
to preserve that legacy. We want to make sure those books,
Yeah.
those 400 books he created, are still
Yeah.
read. At the
Yeah.
same time, we don't want to just rest on that because it's our
Right.
duty to take that legacy forward. So
Yeah.
the entire organization today, we are very focused on creating fresh content, new content,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we don't want to be a nostalgia brand, right? We don't want to
I know.
connect with
I
people
know.
in their 40s and 50s who feel very
Yes.
nostalgic. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
that audience will always be there, but our
Yes.
dharma, the dharma, the reason we
Yes.
exist is to
Yes.
create stories for children. So we're very
Right.
focused on that, on creating fresh content at
Yeah.
regular intervals.
Yeah.
Over the past 55 years, all sorts of things have happened in the
Right.
company. We've
Yeah.
gone from a pure, analog age where all the art was done by hand with a 24
Yes.
watercolor palette and
Yeah.
written by hand, to now it
Yeah.
all being done with Photoshop. We've gone
Yeah.
through the evolution. We've gone through multiple management changes. There was a big fire that happened and everything was destroyed.
Wow.
We've
Wow.
survived the
When was
pandemic last. This was in the
when was the
90s.
fire?
In the 90s.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh
So
God. Yeah.
the story of ACK itself is book worthy, right? Because so many things have happened,
I know. I know.
and of course the pandemic happened last year, and we
Yes.
came through. And like I was telling the team, we came out of that stronger than
Yeah.
ever before.
Yeah.
So that is the power and the resilience of Amar
Yeah.
Chitra Katha and Tinkle. That
Yeah.
we are just, the current team that we are. We are just the custodians. We are the current day custodians
Wow.
because it's going
Wow.
to remain. It's going to remain in existence
Yeah.
forever, and
Yeah.
we will keep on evolving. We are trying to do a lot of new things, whether it's new themes or the
Yeah.
way we are portraying, whether
Yeah.
it's skin color or the names, the way the languages, all that has to evolve,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
2021. What
True.
worked in
True. True.
1967 can't work in 2021. And by
True.
the time we get to 2061, 30 years from now,
Yeah.
there'll be a whole new team. There'll be
Right.
somebody replacing you on that screen as well,
Yeah.
and
Of course. Of course.
they'll be talking
Yeah.
of how, how it has evolved again. It has to keep on evolving.
It's
So
amazing. I mean, you talk about the evolution, and I can easily see perhaps, ACK going into the meta world and kind of excelling at it. I mean, I can
yes,
just see it. I mean, it's amazing. And
absolutely.
this, I didn't think of it previously, but since you're talking about evolution, I was like, okay, VR could be something that, can be experienced with an app like this. I mean, it's so easy and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. So whether
So,
it's VR or it's NFTs, we are
yeah,
on everything. We're going to try,
yeah,
and like I always joke that, if 20 years from now, I don't know, 30 years from now, there's a way to, digitally stream content from my server to your brain
oh, yeah,
directly. Yeah,
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
do that as well, because we are storytellers. We want to tell our stories.
Right.
Now, whatever is the medium and the route that is the easiest
Yeah.
and that is most popular at that point of time, we
Yeah.
will use that route.
Yeah. Great. So I was reading something fresh of your, platter, The Valiant Women,
What an
and
amazing book it is! I'm
it
so
is
proud of
amazing.
this book. Yeah.
It is amazing. And I was just carrying it. I go with my daughter to her badminton practice and coaching, and I
How
was
old
like,
is she?
just she's just 5. But
Oh, okay.
I try to read most of the stories. Uh, Although she is getting smarter and quite more so, and a
So you know what?
teenager.
On the
Yeah,
ACK app, you'll also find
yeah.
Amar Chitra Katha Junior. You have the ACK Junior
I know.
series, which is
I know.
meant for
Yeah.
3 to 6.
Huh.
We are actually about to launch a new app called the ACK Junior app,
Okay.
which is going to have all
Wonderful.
content for the 3 to 6 age group. But sorry, I
Wonderful.
interrupted you. Please
No,
continue.
no, no, totally. Because I didn't know
Yeah.
about the new app. That's
Yeah.
great, and the audience also can, kind of just go there. And when is it launching? Is it launched or what?
It's actually live on the
Acha,
Play Store already, but it's been a
great,
soft launch. So maybe 10-15 days from now we'll start advertising it once it's all ready.
awesome! It's
Yeah.
amazing. So I was saying that I just bumped into someone, another mom who takes her kid to badminton, and she was like, she saw this in my hand. So I was just carrying it. I was reading it, of course, not for fashion though. I mean,
Of course.
I was reading it, and she said that, oh, does this exist even now? I was like, okay, okay, we are up in Dehradun. I mean, up north.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of adults who are still kind of, since they are not readers, they won't be aware of what's going on. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
great. It's great that you have ventured into apps and stuff, because they'll kind of explore it through the Play Store or App
No, and
Store.
every time I meet someone, who'll
Yeah.
say, "Oh, my grandfather or my mother or whatever uncle, my mama gave me the entire ACK library bound in those cloth binding, and I have the whole library. I have the whole library. It's so treasured. I carried it with me when I got married." So I just say thank you very much, but have you updated your library?
Yes,
Because
totally.
what you're sitting on is probably
Yes.
20 years old, right?
Yeah,
So you
it
should
is quite
know there
old,
are new
and yeah,
content.
there is so much new content. And I remember, I think 4 years back we had a book club hangout, and the
Hmm,
theme was Amar Chitra Katha. Okay,
hmm.
so many people like showed up, and many of them were those who were carrying like loads of content, and I was like, okay, I need to explore this more. And then
Yeah.
I tried to kind of search what's coming up, and same is the case with other comic book brands as well, who are I wouldn't like to say, kind of bugged by this nostalgia stuff, but it is there. I mean,
Yeah.
the older generation needs to kind of
No,
keep
and
up
I'm
with.
very grateful for that because that nostalgia is the love that Amar Chitra Katha enjoys. So that's
Yes, yes, of
beautiful.
course.
And
Yeah,
of course, you that the love for Amar Chitra Katha from the parents is what gets passed on to the children as well,
yeah,
right?
yeah, true.
So that is beautiful. But yes, we want everyone to please go out and check out the new comics. Our team is
Yes,
working so hard to create such amazing news stories. So please go
I
and
know.
read the news stories on Amar Chitra Katha and
Yes.
Tinkle both.
I mean, it's just a question of, sometimes what happens is, even on Amazon, you go and you see only the books that the algorithm is, promoting.
Yes,
Kind,
yes,
it's that
absolutely.
case.
Yeah,
So I think so. If the algorithm becomes a little bit more fair,
yeah,
people will find more stuff.
yeah.
Akira is saying that Jhalkari Bai story is my favorite. That's my favorite as well. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Chalkari Bai was also my favorite. In fact, I'm sitting right here on my notice board. The last four lines in the Jalkari Bai story is
yes,
the little
the
couplet
Hindi,
about her.
the Hindi, na
The
Hindi
Hindi
wala.
one, yes. So
Yes,
I've
yes,
actually put it up over here. It's very inspiring. I
yes.
read it too. Whenever I'm feeling a little bit lost or down, I read
Yeah.
it to motivate myself. That look, Chalkari Bai could do this, Preeti, you can do this.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's brilliant, and I don't know. I mean, I'm amazed by the kind of content you come up with. I mean, to be honest, I didn't know about Jhalkari Bai, and
Mahito, this entire Valiant Women series is about
yeah,
the lesser known women heroes of India, freedom fighters. We
yeah,
don't even know about these stories. We are
yeah,
all taught about, Rani Lakshmi. We are all taught
yeah,
about Razia Sultan. But these
yeah,
are also big heroes, and we've never learned about
yes,
them in school. So,
yeah,
and this is a series, it's going to keep continuing because the team has
yes,
found like maybe 200 such women that we want to highlight.
right.
So it's going to continue. It's an ongoing series.
Awesome. Okay, since we are going behind the scenes, how do you kind of the behind the scenes process, and how do you make a good comic book? What is your definition? And for especially for the upcoming publishing houses as well. I mean, the more the merrier. Why not? I mean,
Of
people
course,
can
of
create
course.
very good content. I mean, even in the graphic novel space, there is, of course, Graphic India in my background as well. There are others who are doing a good job. So, what makes a good comic book? What is your definition?
So I'm going to speak personally, okay? What
Yeah.
I feel is a good comic book,
Okay.
and I
Yeah.
feel that a comic book is it's a very beautiful product because it's a combination of art and storytelling. The storytelling is through art and words both, right? Art
Yeah.
and text.
Yeah.
So that iconic art of Amar Chitra Katha is what actually you carry with you, right, in your mind.
Right.
When you think of basically, you remember specific
Yeah.
panels. I go to a
Yeah.
party and I meet someone who will describe a specific panel from a specific book they read when they were 10 years old,
Wow.
because
Wow.
the brain actually retains visual information much better than textual,
Yeah.
right? So the
Yeah.
visual data stays in your brain a lot longer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
having that fabulous art is, I think, one of the hygiene factors of a good comic book, right?
Yeah.
No matter how good the theme you have picked, or the or how good you think the way you are plotting the entire story, the art is
Yeah.
what will actually keep the reader hooked or not.
Yeah.
So that art is very important. Second thing which is very important is keeping the text to a minimum, right?
Okay.
It's very,
Yeah.
very important because again, the speech bubbles that you have, they're limited. You don't want it to have too much text because it
Right.
actually the art uh, the entire visual and the text go
Yeah.
hand in hand, right? They have to
Right.
complement each other. They
Right.
don't have to add, they don't have to repeat each other. So
Right.
some of the story is being told by the art and some of the story is being told by the words. They have to have a beautiful marriage between them. Otherwise, you're
Right.
just repeating it and you're taking away from the experience. Also, remember, a comic book is the beauty of a comic book is it's a very quick read,
Yeah.
right? It's
True.
not a it's not an overwhelming read, and it's a great beginning for kids who are reluctant readers, who are
Yeah.
not very interested in reading. It's that great introduction to reading as well, so you don't
Yeah.
want to overwhelm them with too much text. So in my mind, that's very important to keep the
Yeah.
text to a minimum and to
Right.
have this really striking art which stays with you. And some of my most favorite comic books, even like an Asterix, when I even
Yeah.
today when I go back and you can like see the tiny details and you'll notice something new every time you see it. Some
True. True.
little dog in the corner is doing
Yeah.
something, some bird in the tree is doing something, right? Which you
Yeah.
never noticed at the first read.
Yeah.
Second read, third read, fourth read, you'll discover these things.
Yeah.
which actually brings me to say that, although of course nothing beats the experience of taking a tinkle in your hand and
Right.
curling up in your sofa and reading it, but
Yeah. True.
actually I'm enjoying reading our comics on a tablet as well, because
Right.
you can really zoom in, and when you do a panel by panel loading, you can
Yeah.
see all the details the artist has put in.
Yeah.
You can respect that a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, great. I mean, because that format, I mean, especially the panel thing, it is quite interesting, and
Yeah,
it gives you perhaps a more immersive view. And
yeah.
of course, I mean, to kind of ration on what you're doing. I mean, you can perhaps read one and then go back to the hard copy. Ria is saying I received a bookmark too. What is this
Yes,
about?
yes. We did some bookmarks with the Valiant Women series.
Okay, okay,
So we had the random. Ria, which one did you get of the six bookmarks? So there was,
yeah,
yeah, we had done a bookmark on each of the
awesome.
women who have profiled in that book.
Right.
So
So Ria,
Kanaklatha
just tell us
Barwa
in the
and
comments. Yeah,
yes,
tell us in the
yes.
comments. Okay, great. Alia is saying, can't imagine a world without Amar Chitra Katha. It's the
Thank
only
you,
way
Alia.
to learn about Indian roots, I think. So
Absolutely.
coming to Indian roots, thank you so much, Alia, for that. Um, since it's Children's Day, what is the significance of reading history, mythology, literature for children, especially? Because I mean, a lot of kind of students. I mean, I don't want to take brand names or etc. They are being kind of forced into stuff which they are not really passionate about at a very early age, and some apps are also kind of so, I mean, they have the power of ads, and they're influencing, a lot of parents. You know what I mean? And it's very hard to kind of, keep your sanity, maintain your sanity as a parent. I'm not even
Yeah.
going to the kids because they are not kind of on phones. At least I hope so. They are not mostly on phones. So how do you kind of, what is the importance first of all, and how do you go wade through it? I mean, it's a tough proposition.
Yeah. I think the importance is a very simple line that if you don't know where you're coming from, how will you know where you're going? Right?
Yeah.
So, no matter what your destination is, you might land up in any career, in any field, any part of the world,
Yeah.
but you need to know where you're coming from, what are your roots. That is that sense of connection that you have, the grounding that you have, and that comes from reading about your own culture.
Yeah.
So there's a very beautiful analogy and that I had read once about what are books, right? So every book is either a window or a mirror, right?
Oh wow.
So either a book is a window to a world outside, to a
Yeah.
reality which is separate from your own,
Yeah.
which you look outside and you would say, oh, this is something new, I don't know about it. Or
True.
but you need that window, but you also need the mirror. You
Yeah.
need a mirror which tells you this is who I am, right? This is what I relate to.
Yeah.
The most important quality or value that kids growing up now, by the time they become adults, I think, in
Yeah.
my opinion, is going to be a high level of self-esteem and confidence, right?
Okay.
Because knowing just knowledge, the premium on knowledge has gone away thanks to Google, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can find out any information about any topic. It's at my fingertips,
True.
right?
True.
So I
Yeah.
don't need to be I don't need to be mugging up things and recalling dates and remembering,
Mm.
facts. That's all
Yeah.
there. So
True.
how am I going to be successful? It's about having that sense of confidence in myself, having that high self-esteem, being able to
Yeah.
collaborate with others, being able to respect others. So
Right.
respect for somebody else only comes when you can respect yourself, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that sense of self-confidence, that sense of self-esteem comes when you are connected to your own culture, when you're connected to
Yeah.
your own past, when you have respect for your own history.
Yeah.
And that's why it's very important. It's that link. It's a very, very crucial link.
Right.
And we must not forget that. I'm very passionate about it. I think it's very important that every Indian child carries
Yeah.
that strong sense of
Mm.
you are a global citizen, but you need
Right.
to have a proud Indian identity because
Yeah.
that's who you are. That's what will make you successful.
Yeah. Although I didn't have this question on I mean, on the menu, but I really wanted to ask you about your relationship with schools. How does that work?
So it's actually very interesting because Uncle Pai, from his time, he was had been trying very hard to get Amar Chitra Katha to become a part of the school curriculum, right? On how
Mhm.
history is actually taught.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in those days, comics were always looked upon as something frivolous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
frivolous. It's
Mm.
पढ़ाई कर लो उसके बाद में कॉमिक
Yeah.
बुक पढ़ो,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
It
Yeah.
was not ever looked at something which was serious. Ironically, whatever
Yeah.
you and I know of Indian history is thanks
Yeah.
to ACK. Right?
That's it.
We don't remember anything from the school history
And
textbooks,
especially
but
the
we remember.
90s, yeah, the 90s rental sort of era. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so that also kind of,
So now, of course, the new education policy has come out. There is a now finally an understanding and appreciation and respect for how the brain learns, how the
yeah,
brain retains information. It happens best
yeah,
when the combination of text and visuals are together. When you're having fun, when all those the dopamine and oxytocin are flowing in your brain. That's when the neurons
yeah,
start firing, and that's when you
true.
start actually enjoying and learning something. So we are
Yeah,
trying now. We are working with schools. There are a few schools we've tied up with. Where there's
yeah,
a school in Mumbai, for example, called JML, where we are actually part of the school curriculum.
yeah,
So
yeah.
once a week they have a 1 hour Amar Chitra Katha period, right? Where they
Wow.
actually use a book. We have designed a curriculum for them where they study, where
Wow.
there's art, there's some activities linked to it, there's a quiz linked to it. So that's how we are trying to engage with schools. We recently did,
Schools,
and we also.
sorry to cut you off. Schools, if you are listening, you have to do this. I mean, especially up north, you have to learn from this. Which school is that, ma'am? Again,
So it's called Jasuddin ML School in Mumbai,
great.
where we've
Yeah,
done this.
yeah.
Talking of North, we recently did a whole ACK fest with a school called the Shriram Millennium School in
Okay,
Delhi, in
okay,
NCR. So
okay.
three branches of that school came together for that whole week. And entire
Wonderful.
Monday to Friday, we had our editors conducting sessions, storytelling
Wow.
sessions, ACK quiz. We did a panel discussion,
Yeah,
and the final day we had cosplay. So we had the children dressed up as their favorite
wonderful.
ACK characters. It was amazing. I had a story
Yeah.
session with and this is what technology can do. I had a story session with 600 kids on that Zoom call,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
And
Wow.
I've never done an online session with so many children, but
Yeah.
600 kids, connecting together. It was marvelous.
It
So
must
we are
be. It
trying.
must be. Yeah. And I just gave you a sitting ovation because I can't, I couldn't, because this has to happen in Dune. I'm just requesting you that please bring this to Dehradun, and whatever help from our side, we would love to, kind of
So well,
throw
after
that.
this podcast, you can just connect us with the right person, and we will
Awesome.
get on to it.
Uh,
Yeah,
Awesome. My final question: you are a seasoned bibliophile, and so
yeah.
I have to ask you, because this is Book Nerds. We read a lot of books here, and children books are plenty. Many of them are behind me, including Amar Chitra Katha.
I can see.
How do you maintain your schedule of reading, first of all, and what is the stuff that you are reading, especially after the pandemic? What have you read? Would you like to recommend some stuff from that?
So my reading is. I'd like to use the word diverse. It just sounds good. Actually, it's a big hodgepodge of lots of things, right? It doesn't follow a set pattern, but I like to say I'm a very versatile and a very
Oh,
diverse
that's awesome.
reader.
Yes.
Yeah. So of course, comic books, because that's part of the
Yeah.
job. The day
Yes.
I joined Amar Chitra Katha, I got to office, and on my desk the new ACK and Tinkle, which had just and National Geographic. We also publish National Geographic in India
Yes.
as
Yes.
a company.
Yes.
So all those three were on my desk, and I went out and I called my mom and I said, this is the best job in the world because I get to read comics. Can you imagine? I'm sitting in my
Brilliant.
it's a Monday morning and I'm supposed to read this because
Wow.
I'm supposed to like
True.
look at it and give good feedback. And so like, wow,
Yes.
this is like the best job in the world. Yeah. So of
Excellent.
course, I spend and now the team is creating content at a breakneck speed, right? So
Yeah.
there is a lot of time which I spend in reading our own publications, ACK
Yeah.
Tinkle and National Geographic,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Um, since I practice Buddhism, I read a
Yeah.
lot of Buddhist books.
Yeah.
So there is 30 volumes of a book written by the president of our association. It's called the New Human Revolution. So
Okay.
I had decided that I was going to try and complete all 30 by 2021. So right
Yeah.
now I'm on volume 30. That's going well. So
Great.
one every month is what I've been doing.
Awesome.
Uh, I read a beautiful book on when you talked about the pandemic
Mm.
called Resilient. By
Okay.
a psychologist called
Okay.
Rick Hansen. He has an amazing podcast as well.
Okay.
So I listened to it podcast and I got the book and it's been really amazing.
Yeah.
Very very inspirational book.
Yeah.
Currently, my son has got very interested in the entire opium wars that happened in India,
Okay. Okay.
China, and how
Yeah.
the British caused this man-made famine, which more people died in that famine than died in the
Yeah.
Holocaust, right? And
Yeah.
he was very very moved by that. So we are
Yeah.
both reading Amitav Ghosh's
Yeah.
Sea of Poppies.
Yeah.
I read it a long time ago, but I'm rereading it along with him. So, the
Yeah.
question you were asking is that how do you get your children to, there's so much of stimulation. So, for me, the time I spend, I'm in office, he's at school, he has basketball, he has things, I have my own life. But the
Yeah.
times when we come together, so the meal times, the dinner time at the
Yeah.
dining table, that's very precious. What are you
True.
talking about at that time?
True.
The
Yeah.
times when we are spending together, that's very precious. And that's a time I think all the learning happens in those conversations.
Right.
So make time for conversations without your devices. Put the devices aside and just
Yes.
make time for conversation. I mean, no rocket science, just simple stuff.
Oh yes, oh yes. It's simple. I mean, also you need to work out every day, but not everybody does it. So you have to work hard on it. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
easy.
yeah. And
Ali is
you have to
asking.
make time for reading. You have to make
Oh,
that time.
yes,
Otherwise, I mean, Netflix it's addictive. It is so
it
addictive
is. It
because
is. It is.
that one episode gets over. By the time you're looking for the remote to even put it off, the next one starts, right?
Yeah,
And every episode ends with a cliffhanger, so you want to know what happens next.
I
So
know.
it
I know.
does call for that self discipline. You've got to pull yourself back and say, okay, I'm going to do
Yeah.
one episode a day, and that's all. I'm going to shut it off now.
It's
So
new age addiction. I mean,
it
it's
is. It is.
no different than any other addiction.
Yeah.
I am a big ACK fan, and it has inspired me to be an author. I am 14 years old. Please suggest how should I work towards this?
Okay. So, a good way, if you want to become an author, is to uh, the craft of writing is what you need to learn, right? And how do you become a good writer? A lot of people think it's very this romantic notion of an author sitting with a cup of coffee by some beautiful window and it's raining outside and you're writing and you're just God has given you this gift and you're just writing. It's not like that. There probably is an element of gift, of course, in it. But I think 90% of it is about applying yourself. Like anything in life, you want to become good at badminton, you go and practice badminton. You want to become good at cooking, you go and practice cooking. So you want to become good at writing, you want to become an author, you've got to practice writing. So you've got to sit down and do that half an hour or 1 hour of writing every day. To become a good author, you've got to read a lot. The more you read, the better you'll become at your writing. So that's how you start working towards it. Read
Yeah.
and write, read and write, read and write. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's coming up with ACK? My final question. What's coming up, as in, the some of the comic books that you are really excited about, some
Right.
content that you are really excited about coming up?
So we've been doing a series of books on the Indian Navy, on the maritime heritage of India. So two books
Right.
are out in that series, and now the third book of that series is going to be released soon. We
Right.
are working on tribal mythology. So that's a very
Yes.
exciting area.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of mythology, and there it's not been recorded. Most of it is oral. So our research team,
Yes.
our editorial team, has been talking to a lot of
Yes.
tribal leaders and capturing those
Yeah.
stories. So that's something which I'm very
In
excited
fact,
about.
I read a book by Anvita Abdi, who has, documented about Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And, so much of that content is needs to come to the fore. I mean, of course, that
Absolutely.
was more of a very researched and
Yeah.
sort of non-fiction,
Yeah.
but perhaps in
We've
the
also
format.
we've
Yeah.
been doing really amazing folk tales. So we have this legend and lore series going on. And on the app, if you see, there's a book called Ranchan and the Stone Line and other stories.
Okay.
So there are folk tales
Yeah.
from different parts of the country, right from Spiti Valley in Ladakh to the Andamans to
Yeah.
Maharashtra to Gujarat. Amazing folk tales, and these folk tales
Right.
are so beautiful, and they are so many of them are very humorous as well. There's a lot
Yeah.
of wisdom in them. So
Yeah.
the folktale series is ongoing. We've released 5 new ACK Junior titles recently. This is after 10 years almost that new ACK Junior titles have come out.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lots
So
happening.
much happening, so much happening,
And of course,
but
on the tinkle front, we have of course, we have Supandi and Shambhu who continue to
yes.
remain popular. But actually, the newer
Yeah.
generation, today's generation, are really enjoying this mad caper that pair that we have called the defective detectives. So
Okay.
who are looking for conspiracy theories everywhere. So they are really funny.
Very good.
There's a
Yeah.
bunch of four sisters called Ina Mina Maina Mo, and there's their
Yeah.
stories which are coming out regularly. We have Wingstar, we have Yog Yota, all these new characters, and we have all
Wow.
their stories happening regularly.
There's so much happening. Okay, guys, go to the app, or of course, you can order on Amazon also. And can they order from the website as well, or just
Yes, they
Amazon?
can. Yes, they can order from
Yes.
our website
Yes.
as well. They can order from
Good.
Amazon.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, the apps are available. And we'll be
Yeah.
happy to give, if you talk to our marketing team, they'll give you a code which you can share with your readers, which will give them a
Right.
7-day free access to the
Sure.
apps as well.
Sure. Perhaps Damini can help us with that. She has
Yes,
already
yes.
done so, I believe. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. It has been amazing. I mean, it's a great world that you have created. In fact, within ACK as well, I got to know about some new books that are coming up, and it's so amazing. We are hoping for technology and the old school sort of analog
Yeah.
the works of ACK to kind of combine and provide a great experience, reading
And I'm
experience.
looking forward to making a trip to Doon now, to
Oh
Dehradun
yes,
from
yes, we
here.
have to do that. I mean, of course, Dune is. I mean, I love Dune. That's about
Of
it.
course.
So we
Yes.
have the best schools. I believe we have the best schools, but I mean, people can argue with me, but I think we have the best
So
schools.
yes, I will.
Yes.
Damini and I will plan a whole ACK Fest week
Oh yes,
in
yes, that
Dehradun,
has
and
to
then we
happen.
can come and do lots of events there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that has to happen. Thank you so much. It has
Thank you so
been
much for
a great
inviting me. It was
pleasure.
so
Yes,
much fun. So much fun. And please keep
it's
up the good
all my
work. You
honor.
guys are promoting books, promoting
Thank you
reading.
so
So
much.
God bless you and
Thank you
Godspeed
so
to
much.
you, whatever you do. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's
Thank
been a
you. Thank
pleasure.
you so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah,
Yes. Take care. Bye.
yeah. Bye.